Welcome to everybody. It's our first gin tasting here at United Cellars, and we're really excited actually to get into it. Before we introduce our guests, we'll just go over the team at United Cellars this evening. Mark, if you can put us on one there. So firstly, our head of events, Jane Moore, is here. Welcome, Jane.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining us for our first gin tasting.
We've got Alistair Cooper, our Master of Wine and our European wine consultant.
Morning, evening, everyone. I hope we're all well.
And finally, Mark Faber, our head wine buyer, or head wine and spirits buyer.
Thank you, Luke, and welcome everyone.
And of course, myself, I'm one of the sales brokers here at United. Now, on to our two guests this evening. Very lucky to have them on board. And we should say, just as we do every evening with Ali, it's great that they've got up and especially through the English winter to help present this evening. Firstly, we have Tarquin Leadbetter. He's the creator of the world's best gin at the San Francisco World Spirits Competition, which is a fairly remarkable achievement for a self-taught distiller using old techniques in a converted cowshed. So welcome, Tarquin.
Hi, thanks for having me.
And we've got Chris Breers, who is the man responsible for bringing these gins over to Australian soil. So welcome, Chris.
Morning, everyone. Or evening, everyone. Evening, everyone, sorry.
We also have Peter. I'm sorry, Peter, that we haven't introduced you here. We'll give you a hello first, just so everyone can see you. There he is on gallery view. We got him. Now, just before we crack on into the gins, if you haven't come to one of our tastings before, between each, well, in this case, gin, we do a quiz with your chance to win a $50 credit for your next purchase at United Cellars. So all you need to do is text into the number on the screen with your name, email, and the answer. We normally give about 30 seconds to a minute to get your texts in. One correct answer gets you 3 entries into the Wheel of Wine. An incorrect answer gets you 1, so it's all to play for. And at the end of the evening, we'll be revealing the winner and spinning the Wheel of Wine. So good luck with all of that. I should just cover it off if you can move us on one there, Mark. We have got a leaderboard from this year. So well done, Victoria. I don't think she's actually in this tasting. So obviously she's only on 6 points. If you get 2 correct answers, you can get right up there. And we'll be doing a special prize at the end of the year. So I'm sure there'll be a few high totals there coming into December. Now, I always say it, questions, comments, tasting notes are very much encouraged here. Feel free to unmute anytime. We'd love to get your opinion. You can use the chat box in the corner. Just feel free to type in and we can get those questions put to the experts. But I know that everyone, including myself actually, is itching to get into the Cornish dry. So I'm going to hand over to Tarquin. I think the story is definitely, of Tarquin's is definitely best told by himself. So we're going to get into the Cornish dry and I'm going to leave it to you, Tarquin.
Brilliant, thanks very much. Hi, welcome, evening to everyone in Australia. This morning here in sunny Cornwall. And so first off, I'm Tarquin, founder of Tarquin's Gin, and we are a craft gin distillery based in just outside Padstow in the southwest of Cornwall, right on the tip of England, the most beautiful part of England for those of you who don't know. So first I'm going to tell you a little bit about how I got into making gin, what Tarquin's Gin is about. And then we're going to go and sample the dry gin through. And then we're going to go to the blackberry and honey gin. How did I get into making gin? And it really started about 10 years ago. I'm 33 now, so I was 23 when I left a desk job in London with the dream of setting up something, or setting up a company to work on my own in food and drink. I was really passionate about doing something primarily in food, actually. So I did a cordon bleu cooking course before university and cooked in France. But I left my job and I started actually planning to set up a restaurant. So this is the kind of the long story. Set up a quick service Thai restaurant in London, which sounds absolutely crazy. So I started working behind a pub in Notting Hill called Walmer Castle, We served Thai food to learn the ropes of hospitality while I wrote my business plan. But after 6 months down the line, the restaurant looked a little bit precarious. But having worked behind the bar with all these amazing wines, beers, and spirits, and having this training with fantastic wine merchants locally, taking us through all the drinks, I thought it was amazing to be able to make something myself and move back to the West Country where I'm from and get out of the city. And it was just about that time where there was that craft whiskey explosion in the US. Hundreds of them have started up. You started to get one or two craft gin distilleries in the UK making gin, leading with Sipsmith back in 2008. But craft gin really wasn't a thing, rewinding back to 2011, 2012. So that was really the dream on paper. 23, I thought the idea was to move to Cornwall, live by the sea, make a few bottles of gin in the morning and go surfing in the afternoon. But I knew that if I could make something which tasted better than those household brands which dominated the back bars, 95% of the brands or gins were owned by 3 or 4 multinationals. And I really don't think anyone knew that. And also, no one really knew it was possible to make spirits on this micro scale. Again, it's very much the domain of big multinationals. Being from the West Country, we're famous for our cider. We do that on a craft scale. We're also famous for real ale. We've had the real ale boom in the UK since the 80s. So I think you guys have too. So we're very much used to these products on a small scale, but never spirits. So what I did, without really that much money, on a shoestring, I did what anybody in gin distiller do, which is go to Google, go to the internet and find out how to distill gin. I bought one of these stills pretty much off eBay and started distilling pretty much anything I could get my hands on my cooker at home. I used to go down to the local cash and carry, buy vodka in 1.5 litre bottles, infuse all of these sort of interesting botanicals, all on their own. So botanicals are fruits, herbs, plants, and spices. And this is what forms the backbone of a gin. And the beautiful thing about gin is that you can add in absolutely anything you like, provided that you have the core ingredient, juniper, which is this beautiful, it's technically a pine cone, beautiful kind of piney, resinous, flavorful berry. So you can create a unique spirit, taste completely different to everything else in the market. And that's the kind of beauty of it. You can have your own direction and really put your identity into it. So yeah, so everything I could buy botanicals on the internet, ones I could pick, ones were grown in my garden, it's pretty much anything you can distill as long as it's not poisonous or illegal. So about 200 distillations later, I started to blend the different single botanicals and come up really with the recipe. And the interesting thing about gin as well is all of the methodology is very secretive. This is the domain of the Diageos and the Pernod Ricards. They've done all the research in-house for the last 40 years as the market has consolidated. So it's very, very secretive. No one really knew how to make gin. It was full of misinformation. So this is very much a journey of trial and error and reading in between the lines between marketing spiel to work out exactly how to make a fantastic tasting gin. So then I scaled up. I scaled up from a 0.75 litre still to a 250 litre still. So these are 3 of the leading ladies originally. But I started off in a 500 square foot converted cattle shed just outside Padstow and sold the first 220 bottles, my batch, on July 30th, 2013, out of the boot of my Vauxhall Astra estate car to the best wine shops, gastropubs, and hotels in Cornwall. Just started in Cornwall. At the end of the first month, things picked up momentum. So I was distilling the gin. My sister was helping me stick the labels on the bottles. Every bottle also has handwritten batch character tasting notes written by hand. So my mum was writing those on the bottles. And things started to pick up momentum. We sold our first pallet to Portugal at the end of the first month. And at the end of the first year, we won our first gold medal at the International Wine and Spirits competition in London. So over 300 gins worldwide entered this competition, and only 6 of them won gold, including our Cornish dry flagship gin, which was, absolutely phenomenal to get that peer review. I knew that we were making a gin that I loved, but for other people to say that they liked it too was absolutely incredible. And most importantly, people were buying, they were not just buying one bottle. You know, they were coming back and buying more. And over the next 5 years, we pretty much, you know, from selling gin out of the boot of my car, pretty much doubled in size every year. One still, Tamara, became Sonara, became Tressa. And then in 2017, we added Ferrara, which is a beautiful custom-built Italian still over here. We really began to scale up production, but very much in an organic and consistent way. The key and the most difficult thing in all of gin production is consistency, as I'm sure you know with wines. We don't have the advantages of making vintages, so every bottle of gin we make has to be as good, if not better, and or taste pretty much identical to those first bottles which came off the still back in 2013. 2017 was a highlight for us, where our Navy strength gin, Tartman's Navy Sea Dog Gin, won world's best gin at the other most prestigious spirits competition in the world, called the San Francisco World Spirits Competition. Again, 268 gins, tasted blind by a panel of 15 judges and a double blind tasting, and it came out on top, which again, you know, is pretty remarkable. And that, you know, that's why we're so proud. You know, we're these distillers on this far-flung coast in the tip of England, making gin which can really you know, compete amongst and beat you know, the best gins in the world. So I can take you back over here to get into the dry gin.
Can I ask you a quick question? Because it's really interesting to hear like how you scaled up. But when you did, you know, quite significant jumps up, how sourcing the botanicals and how does that work? Because I imagine you start with you've got to keep the same consistency of botanicals. You're sourcing from the same people. How easy was scalability?
Yeah, that's the hardest part for sure. And it's, you know, you think that it's the same recipe and it's going to taste the same each time, and it really doesn't, depending on the temperature of the ambient temperature of the room, the length of maceration of botanicals, and most importantly, the quality of the ingredients each year, the seasonality of juniper berries, and even juniper berries from Italy taste completely different to those from, you know, Kosovo or Macedonia. So really, you know, it's a lot of blending, a lot of buying in bulk, storing and mixing is really the best that one can do. And then really tasting panels. So we have, you know, we taste against samples and test batches, historical batches, old batches, and really, you know, score them out of 5. But we had, after we won that world's best gin at San Francisco, I got a phone call one day from this guy called Nick Fordham. I didn't actually know who he was at the time, but he called me up, says he was the master distiller at Bombay Sapphire, loved our gin, tasted it at a trade show, and would love to come and work for us. So he joined us in 2018, and he's, again, a really important part of his role is to make sure that that consistency is key as we scale up. So we've gone from me making gin, you know, in this tiny little building, selling it out of the boot of my car, to now there's 40 to 50 of us in the company. We've still very much grown organically. We're an independent family company. We've never had investment. We've grown entirely, you know, from the profits of selling our gin. You know, it's a very organic business, and you know, and now quality is definitely key, and we really do focus on the product. I think that the key to our success that we've had in the UK and abroad is just that the quality of the product and people coming back and enjoying it and buying it again. So that is the main focus of what we do. And yeah, now we're 2021. We're probably the second largest family gin distillery in the UK, one of the largest. We're probably top 10, top 15 UK gin brand by sales, including Gordon's, Tanqueray, Bombay Sapphire, and a good half a dozen of the leading multinational brands. All pretty much all made here. We bottle here as well, and we're now spread over the same farm where we have five different units with all sorts of different functions going on in each one. But yeah, and then a fantastic team. So Chris and Peter, some of the team who help us on our journey. But yeah, it's just just such an exciting and amazing company to be part of and work in. My surfing's not as good as I'd hoped, but we are making something fantastic. Yeah. I can open the dry as well. I'm sure you're all asking to have the first sip.
Up on the screen, Tarquin, just to let you know, and I should say actually, thank you so much for showing us around your distillery. It's It's amazing. Mark, I'm not sure if you wrote these tasting notes. You're far more eloquent than I am. I'll read it out to you, Tarquin, and perhaps we can taste with you here. Like stumbling across a citrus grove in the middle of a pine forest, crisp and vibrant. To me, it just tastes like being on holiday, but there we go. Maybe you could take us through the Cornish dry.
I think that's exactly those words of what I had in my mind back in 2012, 2013 for the Cornish dry. So that really is. So the lead botanicals in this dry gin are lots of fresh citrus. That's fresh orange, lemon, and grapefruit, which gives that beautiful bright nose. And it really does lead with that zesty sort of freshness. And the key difference, which in the recipe back in 2012, is to use these fresh fruits. We're not making a recipe from the 18th century. We can fly these in and really extract those best, freshest essential oils from the ingredients. So it might be a little bit more commonplace now, but this sort of blew people's minds back in the day that you could use fresh citrus fruit in making a gin. So that's a very key part of it. Also quite floral. So we use violet flowers, and we also use plenty of orris root as well, which is the root of an iris. And that gives this amazing kind of sort of more complex, earthy floral note, which really complements that citrus pretty much incredibly. But most importantly, I think balance is my number one aim for any gin. It's very, very, very easy to make a one-dimensional gin. You can make a gin which tastes like elderflower, you can make a gin which tastes like orange, but to get it beautifully integrated along with the other 11 ingredients that go into the pot and into the distillation is actually very difficult. And of course, it leads with this Italian juniper, which again has these sort of subtle violet notes, beautifully piney, it's resinous, kind of fresh and bright. So you get quite a soft, bright, lightly floral, lightly citrus on the nose. And then on the palate and on the taste as well, it's beautifully soft. So even though it's 42%, I'm drinking warm gin. It tastes like almost the best martini you've ever had. A great breakfast martini here in England. And again, you've got that beautiful zesty finish. You still have that lovely light bitterness from the juniper. And it very much, this is a classic gin in style. It's got lots of the core botanicals that we use in this are ones that you'll see in the most classic of gin recipes from the 17th century, but with these beautiful subtle contemporary twists. The fresh citrus fruit. We use cinnamon instead of cassia bark, which was the traditional kind of sweet spice. And it all just lifts it, slightly elevates it to that level that makes it sort of a very beautiful gin. And if I was trying to compare this to a wine or a beer, it would be more like your session beer, or maybe like a wine, something light and fruity, maybe more like a Pinot Noir or a Burgundy as opposed to a big bold kind of. My wine knowledge, please. My wine knowledge isn't great with anything big and bold like a Bordeaux. But really, a fantastic gin and tonic gin, amazing in martinis with a grapefruit twist is how I drink it, and it is, time and time again, it's my favorite. And in the UK, people go bananas for it. It's probably, I think, one of the best-selling gins on Amazon for the past 4 years, and it really is, quite special. And in terms of presentation, every bottle is custom made. It's in this beautiful sea glass texture, almost looking as if it's washed up on a beach. Every bottle features handwritten batch character tasting notes. So these are all written by hand. And while every batch, as I mentioned, we work very, very hard to maintain consistency between batches, probably harder than any craft distillery that we do like to celebrate any nuance between batches. So if there is, a particularly really powerful sort of batch of orange zest which has gone on a still and it's particularly zesty, we'll draw attention to that and highlight a key tasting note like zesty orange, or if it's floral, we might write orange blossom. So again, that's a little subtle feature of the brand, which I started back in 2013 and we've really brought on to this day. It's no longer me writing them, but it is all handwritten. So and then on the bottom of the gin.
If we played a game, if I read you the tasting notes on my bottle, could you tell me which batch it was from?
You'll get 6 entries into the Wheel of Wine.
Maybe 7 years ago, but no. It's not these days.
Aromatic orange on mine.
Oh yeah, that's a great batch. Fantastic.
Best vintage ever.
But, and then a beautiful.
Go on.
Carry on.
I was going to say one of a little known secret on the bottom of our gin bottles. If you turn it upside down, you can see the words Yegeda, which is in Celtic or Cornish language. It means bottoms up or cheers. So the best little known fact of Tarquin's gin bottle. Are there any questions for me? It's me at this stage.
Yeah, Tarquin, I have a few. I'm just going to open up the floor and see if any of our guests have anything. Ali, I'm sure you've got a couple of questions and comments you'd like to ask. Looks like most of our guests are currently on mute and not on webcam. Queensland mob, we're going to pick on you. Thumbs up for the Tarquins. There we go. Love it. Ali, did you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I've got lots of things I want to ask her. First of all, I mean, I think it's beautiful. I love that floral tinge. For me, the violets really come out in this, which I think I love violets, and it reminds me if it was going to be a wine, I'd be thinking more a very delicate Syrah from I don't know, from Cote Rôtie or something like that. Something with that.
Oh, that sounds amazing.
Something that's got real purity and vibrancy, and that floral violet sort of note really comes out. But so I think it's gorgeous. I drink this regularly, so I'm a big fan. But when we're talking about how do you suggest that we drink this? I mean, I've got it with no mixer here, but for me it seems like, and that's actually going to be interesting when we go on to the next gin. But apart from martini and gin and tonic, how should we drink this? Do you consider it a sipping gin, or I've got a Fever Tree light tonic with me? What's your preferred method of imbibing?
Yeah, so I love martinis, as I mentioned, with a grapefruit twist. Gin and tonic and Fever Tree light is also fantastic. Sort of really lets the gin shine through. So my preferred garnish is a slice of pink grapefruit, big, bright, vibrant, and has that almost exotic acidity that you can't get from a lemon or a lime. And then a sprig of thyme as well, just to add that herbal element to balance into the florals and the citrus. So those are my two preferred drinks, but I go crazy for all gin cocktails, all of the kind of prohibition-esque ones, Negronis, gin sours, white ladies, just pretty much all the classics work beautifully well, and it really is a good mixing gin. But I do say I think I drink my gin and tonics two parts tonics, 1 part gin, just to make sure that you can really taste it. But of course, lots of ice. I think ice is the key to any fantastic mixed drink.
Definitely,
right.
Definitely. That's great.
Sorry,
I've made a note here for grapefruit, thyme. And I'm going to go and get those, and I'm looking forward to that at 6 o'clock tonight with my Fever Tree refreshing.
Tarquin, we had a question from Murray and Tanya with regards to the almost kind of spicy note that they're picking up in the Cornish dry. Where is that coming from?
So there's probably two kind of spicy notes that I can think of. So this first pepperiness that you can get from juniper berries. So if it's peppery, it's probably from the juniper. But if it's more of a sweeter spice, it would probably be from the cinnamon and the licorice root. But that's very much on the sweeter level. So peppery, juniper, I think licorice and cinnamon, sweet spice. That helps.
Brilliant. Okay, well, we are going to move on to quiz question number 1. So if you haven't done already, finish off the Cornish dry, and we'll move on to the blueberry. I'm just going to load up the question here. So the gin and tonic was popularized due to its ability to prevent which disease? Is it answer A, rickets, malaria, or dengue fever? So just remember, text in with your answer, just a number rather than the name, to the number on the screen there with your name, email, and the answer. Jane's collating all of the answers, and then we'll put them into the Wheel of Wine at the end of the evening. So good luck with that. Just whilst everyone's doing that, Tarquin, I had a question. I noticed that you named all of your stills, and I was wondering, are they named after ex-girlfriends or friends or anything like that?
So our original still, Tamara, is named after, Tamara is the goddess of the Tamar. So it's a beautiful Cornish name named after the largest river which cuts through the edge of the county between Cornwall and Devon, of course, where you're from. And then the second one is Sonara, the patron saint of this beautiful coastal town called Zena. So Sonara. And then Tressa, which means three or third in Cornish. So that's 1, 2, 3. And then our Italian still, it's called Ferrara. Pretty much because it's the same price as a Ferrari when I was buying it, and it's Italian. And it had to end in ARA. But of course, I'd rather make gin than drive a fast car. But I'm gonna move locations before everyone comes into work. So I'm gonna log out for 5 minutes, then I'll dial back in on my computer for the next tasting. But Peter, you're in great hands with Peter and Chris. If any gin specific questions, but I'll see you in a sec.
No worries at all, Tarquin. We'll see you in a second. So I reckon that's been about 60 seconds, and it's given everybody time to fill up their glass for the second gin of the evening. So the answer is number 2, which is obviously dengue fever or malaria. Quinine is found in tonic water, which, as we know, tastes a lot better than with gin in it. So well done if you got that one right. So that's 3 points to you. 1 if you didn't. So it's all to play for quiz question number 2.
Funny story about that one, Luke. My dad lived in the tropics for about 12 years, and we, instead of taking preventative malaria medication, that was what we did. So I knew the answer to that one when I saw it. And I never got malaria. None of us did. So gin and tonic is the winner.
From gin and tonic, were you, Jane, from a young age?
I mean, they don't have a drinking minimum age over there. It's very third world still. So yeah, we weaned onto it, for health benefits. So.
Of course, why not?
Fantastic. So we're going to get into gin number 2 with Chris and Peter. So Chris and Peter, whilst you just take us through the background on this one, I'm just going to do a quick overview of the Southwest and obviously Cornwall and Padstow, where you guys are. So we'll just be looking at that as well as listening to you guys. So crack on.
Right. I mind my hand over to Peter. Yeah, he's the specialist. But also, just as some background to Peter, Peter actually heads up our retail division. We opened our first shop in Padstow in Cornwall last year. Despite all restrictions, it was a massive success. And we now have 3 shops scattered all over Cornwall. We'll open 2 more in the next few months. No one explains Tarquin's, better than Tarquin, but Peter is a close second. So I think it'll be great to hand over to Peter.
Nice bit of pressure. Thanks, Chris. So going to go through a little bit about the British Blackberry Gin, which was our kind of 4th release in the range that we now have. So we now produce upwards of kind of 15, 16 different varieties, but the Blackberry was our first, or Tarquin's first, kind of adventure into the fruit gin market. He's already mentioned the kind of interest in balancing the classics and the history behind gin, but also looking at a more modern contemporary approach. So inspired by things like slow gins that have kind of been very famous for a long time, using up fruits and things like that, and inspired by nature and what we've got around us. So this gin, bottled at 38%. So one of the things that I think is really brilliant about all of our fruit gins and does make them stand apart to sometimes others in the same category is they're all made using that Cornish dry gin at their core. So we don't make a lesser flavored base gin to then flavor with blackberry. We still use that same fantastic Cornish dry gin with the 12 botanicals, the fresh citrus, the violets, the orris, angelica, cinnamon. All those things are still in here. And then simply we're just adding an extra dimension with the addition of fresh blackberries. Again, using fresh blackberries is a really exciting thing. It gives a fantastic balance, which is something that Tarquin's mentioned he's so passionate about. You get the brilliant sweetness from the fruit, but also a lovely fresh acidity. If you think about eating a fresh blackberry, it does have that balance between a slightly sour note and then that lovely fresh sweetness as well. To balance out a little bit more, just to kind of bring a touch more sweetness for that kind of palate that fruit gins definitely kind of appeal to more. We also add in some Cornish wildflower honey. And the honey's a brilliant thing. One of my favorite things, again, this kind of epitomizes Cornwall. The honey comes from about 5 miles from our distillery. You've got a very, very famous surfing beach on the north coast of Cornwall called Polzeath. It's the busiest, biggest surfing beach that you get in the summertime. And so you're driving along these tiny Cornish lanes, single file, big stone walls, trying to get to this surfing beach. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, on this hairpin bend, will appear a bee center, a big bee factory, honey producing thing. Porteth Bee Centre just appears out of nowhere in the middle of the Cornish countryside. And it's been there for as long as I can remember. I've been holidaying in Cornwall for 20 years. So you always drive along this road, heading for a surf, and all of a sudden you see a bee centre. So that's the honey we use. Again, bringing a really fantastic local produce into our kind of company. This gin for me, it kind of actually surprises a lot of people. People see that lovely dark color to it. They see the richness of it and think it's going to be kind of cloying and overly sweet. And actually it's still a spirit. First and foremost, this is a gin. And then the blackberry is there as a kind of supporting act to bring out a little extra dimension and flavor. So you will taste it. You will get that boozy kick. You do get that lovely bite from the alcohol, but you also get that lovely fresh blackberry flavor. I think you guys have actually been given some fancy lemonade to pair with this one. And for me, this is one of the exciting things about fruit gins and has really helped explode the fruit gin and gin market to new drinkers. We get a lot of people at tasting events that come and try a fruit gin first because that's what they're used to. And then actually they start to develop more of a palate to try the classics, the dry gins, the navy gins, because they realize they have a great balance of flavor. And what a sweet mixer does, either ginger ale or something like this lemonade, is this will accentuate the blackberry flavor. The sugars in the mixer, the sweetness to it will actually bring out a lot more of those fruity notes. If you can, you 100% can put this gin with tonic, without a doubt. And what you'll do then is you'll accentuate the gin characteristics. You'll bring out more of the juniper, the spices, and all those fantastic characteristics. And the blackberry will then sit in the background more. So the fruit gin market, and especially this one, the blackberry, I think kind of opened up a new kind of wealth of mixers, drinks, and serves. My personal favorite serve with this is actually a shot of our blackberry gin, a shot of apple juice, nice pressed apple juice, cloudy style, and then just bog standard cheap and cheerful lemonade. And it's so summery and really refreshing, but you get this lovely kind of sharp acidity from the apple and blackberry working together. I think I nicknamed it the Cornish crumble, and we put it on a postcard and did things with it. But it's just a great, great gin to kind of experiment with different mixers and different serves and things like that, and kind of bring people into the fold to try gin for the first time. Lots of people that say they don't like gin. We come across that a lot. Oh, I don't like gin. When you delve into it a bit further, it turns out they don't like tonic. They don't like that bitterness from the quinine. And actually being able to introduce them through ginger ales, lemonades, sweet mixers is a great way to kind of get more people drinking gin.
Peter, I have to say that.
I've got a quick question, if that's all right. With again, it's a sort of more a technical type question, or the process part of making a gin like this. Is this something did you make this with fresh blackberries, and are they local blackberries, so you can only do it seasonally, or are they dried, or how does that work?
Well, it is again. Tarquin's back, I think, if he wants to answer it, or.
Oh, sorry, maybe I might be able to help a little bit more on this technical point. Yeah. I don't know if you get asked this a lot. So I started making it with a batch of fresh blackberries, macerating it in the same process that you make slow gin. I did this for a number of, and it didn't turn out that fantastic. So what we do now is we use British blackberries. We get a fruit presser to press them into effectively a juice, but a really lovely, not from concentrate, no preservatives, no additives or anything. And then we infuse that with the gin post distillation and add a little bit of honey, which we literally drive up the road to get from this local honey farm, to add a little touch of a sweetness to cut into that natural acidity that you get from the blackberry.
Okay, cool.
And with the, I mean, this is, it's not a very romantic technical point, but one can also freeze juice if you need to make it in the off season, which is
But Tarquin, if you need a blackberry supplier, my mum's probably got about 5 vats in the freezer from down the hedgerows, blackberry and apple stew. So you only have to go up to Devon and get that. I think they're on the Facebook feed. So Mum, you can get in contact with Tarquin if you like. There was a comment on the chat box here from Kerry and Bruce. The lemonade makes it taste like a fuss-free cocktail. Just add blackberries, which I actually totally agree with. I love this one. Jane, I know that you had a question.
More of a comment based on what Peter just went through, where you were talking about mixing with, sweet mixes. And I find that this fancy lemonade we've mixed it with is definitely on the less sweet side of, mixes in general, which is great. And I found when I tried the gin on its own, I was expecting it to be a lot sweeter, kind of like what you said, and was very pleasantly surprised when it wasn't, because I think the market here is dominated a bit by some of these really sweet fruit gins and pink gins and whatnot that we've got coming in at the moment. It's all very trendy. But this combination, just to follow what Kerry said, it is a bit of like a fuss-free cocktail, but it's not too sweet. It's refreshing, great in summer. I can just, I wish it was still sunny outside. Sun's going down now, but that is, still nice and refreshing, and it's got the nice fresh finish on it. So really appreciate that. But we did get a question come through from Michael. He's just asking, actually, I suppose this would be a question for you, Tarquin, what's the base spirit made out of?
So it's made out of wheat for all of our gins. So it's British wheat. And again, I suppose like the majority of London dry gins that we make, we make what are technically London dry gins, where you start off with this really, really high strength or high quality spirit, and you use that as the blank canvas to work to add our unique recipe of botanicals. So it's very much designed to be really high quality, almost tasteless, for us to then build upon it with our own flavor and recipe, but is British wheat from a British distillery.
Awesome, thank you for that.
Yeah, absolutely delicious. I'm going to pick on another of our guests, and I'm going to the big man, Anthony. Oh, he's just gone on. He's just turned his webcam off. Oh no, is he back? Yeah, we go. Anthony, what are your thoughts on this one?
Just go off and get something. I'm actually not trying the same gin. I'm still I'm trying one of the other ones, which was I was just going off to look at the bottle actually that I poured, but they were reasonable sized glasses, so I've got a little bit of time to console myself in the lack of knowledge. No, but I mean they're beautiful, they're lovely. I mean, I've got to say that they really are quite different, to what we've been drinking throughout this summer, and I think my smell's a little bit off at the moment, but I think my wife's just, I think it's the other bottle actually. We're on TV, so I'll limit the conversation. No, but they're amazing. They're lovely. I was just actually messaging Ali there and saying, well, I wanted to get the MW's insights into gin. I know he's a man of distinguished gin taste.
Do you know what? I'm definitely not a master of gin. I've mastered drinking it.
You're a master of gin? Do they exist?
No, I don't. You get master distillers, don't you, Tarquin? But I think, and actually, I've got a question for Tarquin, Peter, whoever wants to answer this. I noticed, Anthony, I like your glass. I think that's a very smart gin glass you got there.
Well, they're purpose-built, but I did reach out to the boys at the warehouse today to get some of the Tarquin's glasses. They look amazing, actually.
Well, I haven't seen the Tarquin's glasses, so I was going to say, what?
So Michael's got one in the camera just there. If you can see that, Ali, he's holding it up. Michael Russell.
Yeah, I mean, amazing. But no, these are purpose-built.
There he is.
That supposedly gin glasses. So
we should be drinking Tarquin out of a balloon type? I mean, I sort of know the answer. So I imagine the Tarquin glass is the ultimate vessel for imbibing your gin. Is that right?
Yeah, yeah. I think I remember I first had one in Spain. They call it the gin and tonica in these giant sort of those balloon glasses, which we have. It must have been sort of back in 2010. And it just kind of blew my mind. I'd never seen anything like it. You know, we're used to sort of gin and tonic in a slim gin with tonic from a gun, you know, one ice cube and a dirty old lemon, you know, in the back of a pub. And this was such a different experience. And what I was keen to do back, you know, when we sold those first bottles from the boot of my car in Cornwall in 2013, and it was height of the summer. I thought, wouldn't it be amazing to bring a slice of Spain to Cornwall, you know, sunny Cornwall, and give the Brits what they probably wanted all their lives with gin. So we were probably one of the first sort of guys in the UK to really adopt these in quite a big way, and they're incredible. You know, you can fit in 10 times more ice than you can in the slim gins. You can add in garnishes and really get a good piece of grapefruit and thyme in there, and then like a wine glass, it lets the aromas kind of circulate and sort of funnel up towards your nose as well. So it serves a purpose, and it looks, you know, feels nice and chunky, and you can fit a good measure in it. You know, that's the most important part too.
On the subject of tasting, we had a quick conversation with Chris earlier in the week, and of course the other, I guess, famous person to put Padstow on the map is Rick Stein, the chef. And he mentioned you guys have got a bit of a collaboration going, if that's right.
Yeah, we do. So Big Rick, he's sort of our local celebrity. He's probably one of the biggest celebrity chefs in the UK, actually. And I know he spends half of his year out over in Australia too. But we have Tarquin's Rick Stein Gin, designed to go with seafood. So they serve it in all of their restaurants, and it's distilled with fennel and this incredible sort of foraged ingredient called wild chamomile, or colloquially pineapple weed. And it sort of tastes like, it's quite extraordinary. It looks like chamomile and it smells and tastes like pineapple. So it all goes together, and it makes this kind of almost tropical, exotic, sort of fennelly gin and tonic, unlike any other gin you've ever had. And it might be a love-or-hate kind of scenario, but it does pair beautifully with seafood, and really good with just a classic slice of lemon. And it's kind of one of the more crazy or unique gins that we make, but really, really, really interesting. So I'm sure we can in the next order maybe get a couple of bottles if it's of interest.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's quite a fun number
with the mackerel. And the last question that I had, I'm not sure if our Australian viewers would be aware of this. I don't actually know, but I noticed there was a puffin on the bottle there. Maybe you could explain the relevance of that.
So the puffin, yeah, is flying with I don't know if you can see, flying with a sprig of juniper in its mouth, and it's very much tying our spirits and our identity, well, being here in Cornwall. So it's this beautiful coastal bird. You're very lucky if you see one. They're quite rare, but really beautiful with their colorful beaks. And everything that we do, I suppose, is very much been about our location. You know, we're here on the wild Cornish coast, right by the Atlantic. As I said before, in the most beautiful part of England, if not the world, for those of you who don't know Cornwall. And yeah, it's a nod to our location and to really, you know, tie the brand and Tarquin's to where we are, really. And it's
awesome.
Quite fun.
Tarquin, just a quick question from Michael. He's just asked, we're not tasting the Navy Strength Sea Dog today, but that's because we sold through so quickly. We literally only have one left. But he was just wondering if you could tell us a little bit about that one.
Yeah, so our Navy Strength, we originally made it for a department or a battalion or a section of the Royal Navy down here in Cornwall. So they asked us to make them a gin, and it harks back to naval tradition where they used to have gin at 57% ABV, where I think if still soaked in
where if the alcohol or the brandy or the gin soaks the gunpowder, it would still be able to ignite. That's the flash point at which it still sets on fire. So it's a super strong gin, and it's made with the same botanicals and pretty much the same recipe as our dry gin, but just beefed up in terms of flavor. So you have that stronger alcohol hit. So really increase the botanical mass. But then we make, again, some very subtle adjustments. So as I mentioned before, juniper berries can taste different from different regions. We use primarily Italian for our dry gin, which is beautifully soft and has those notes of violet. But we actually use Kosovan for our navy strength. So more kind of aggressive, very peppery, very spicy, very rich, and really bold enough to get on top of that alcohol. So it needs to be able to power through on top of that initial kind of hit of 57%. But it's, you know, it's a fantastic gin. It's peppery, spicy, bold, really citrusy, and just beautiful. And it really is for, you know, for a serious gin drinker who likes their martini strong and likes a fantastic gin and tonic as well. So that's a little bit of history and flavor in a nutshell.
Fantastic. Now
I'm happy to say that that's actually the gin I'm trying now. It's superb. So maybe it's a bit of good fortune.
So we'll have to have a fight to the death for the last bottle. So
yeah, Chris, get them on a boat now.
Super strength one.
Yeah, we're gonna go on, Ali.
He's drinking the super strength one, are you, Anthony?
Yeah. Yes.
Oh, okay.
It's actually, I was just saying, it was when I poured it in the glass and I first had my initial taste, I said, wow, this is I didn't look at the label and thought, wow, this is quite a strong gin. Maybe I got the mixed percentage right. But, the good news is it really is beautiful.
Put some lead in your pencil, as they say.
And I wonder, actually, Tarquin, I've got a very quick question as well. So when I drink whiskey, when you drink whiskey, you know, you add water. Some people will add ice. I would just add sort of water, lukewarm water, or, you know, ambient temperature water. When you're drinking or sipping a gin, do you do the same thing? Does that bring out the flavors more, or should you always drink gin neat?
So when we do all of our tastings, particularly when we're testing batches, we typically will try it neat, and then we'll add equal parts of water to, as you said, really open it up. And it's very noticeable with gin that at different ABVs, you really get different flavors which come through. So it's probably a scientific explanation for this, but I know at the highest ABVs, so from 40% up, it's really the citrus essential oils or botanicals that you can smell, because they're the most volatile compounds. And when you pour more water in, you typically get more floral notes, you might get more earthy notes, and a completely different flavor profile from that initial smell. But of course, when you come to taste it, it all balances together in that sort of ensemble, and you do get that sort of the whole spectrum of botanicals and flavor. But you know, my granny used to drink gin with water. That was her drink. She's from Devon, used to drink Plymouth gin for years. So I knew that growing up. But you know, I think what is actually how you enjoy it. And I go through phases, as you know, like Peter said. It depends what mood he's in, depending on what gin he drinks, and that is the same for me, and I'm sure probably for all of you guys with wine as well. But I think that's the beauty of it. You know, it's not a pretentious spirit. It's not, you know, it doesn't need. It's not necessarily like whiskey where it's quite difficult to get into it. You know, if you like gin, you can easily buy different gins and start to explore and experiment with the flavors and get an understanding of what you like, don't like. And I think that, you know, it is more democratic, and you know, anyone can get into gin. I think a lot of people are, and that's why it's such a popular spirit in Australia and in the UK as well, for sure.
Well, Tarquin, that brings us very nicely on to quiz question number 2, which is, which country consumes the most gin per capita? So you've got 3 answers here to choose from: the UK, Spain, or Belgium. And just remember the number rather than the actual country there. I'm not sure if Tarquin, Chris, or Peter have any insights into this. I have no idea anyway. I'm going to be looking at my notes in a second. Ali, any guesses?
I have a very good educated guess. Yes, I'm not going to say anything until you, but yes, I won't say too much more. But I think I know the answer. And actually, it was a question that I was going to, yeah, it leads on to a question that I had for the guys, actually.
Is that going to give it away, or?
I don't know. Did it give it away to you just then?
No. Well, please ask your question. We've got about another 30 seconds worth of getting everyone's text in.
If I ask the question, it will give away the answer. That
I see.
I did just check up at the warehouse, and so we've got 60 of those glasses in, which is cool. I'm pretty sure Jane's hoarded most of them for events, but I think we could part with a couple for anyone here that did want a bit of the Tarquin, some Tarquin glasses. They are pretty big.
They're very cool.
Kerry wants 20 of them, I see.
Yeah, we'll sort Kerry and Bruce out some for sure.
We'll work his out, as long as that's okay, Jane.
Yeah, Michael, I'll save 2 for you. I can see that there. I'll save 2 for you. Kerry, you just let us know.
Kerry, they look like you could definitely drink your Jack Renault through it as well. So.
Right. Is that the...
So I reckon I'm not going to hold your question any longer, Ali. So the answer is 2, Spain, who consumes a massive 1.7 litres per person per annum. The second being Belgium, and then the third obviously being the UK. That's really impressive. I mean, Ali, I'm sure you're going to ask the same question as I am, so I'll leave it to you.
That's exactly it. And I was pretty sure, and I think Tarquin mentioned it earlier on when he went to Spain and saw people drinking out of this. You know, I've been staggered going to Spain over the last 10, 15 years, how much gin they drink. And I just don't know. I've never kind of worked out or found out why that is and what the connection with gin in Spain, where it came from. Did it come from expats going and drinking gin in the Costa del Sol, or what was the reason? What is the reason for that?
Oh, is that a question for me?
I think so. If you know the answer.
Okay. I'm not sure. I think a colleague of mine might know the answer. Nick, who was that master distiller at Bombay Sapphire before he used to work at Beefeater, and I know they sell a million cases of Beefeater a year in Spain. It's their largest market. So he might know, but I'm not sure. Peter or Chris, do you have an? Actually, Peter's quite a clever guy. I think he might.
Yeah.
There we go, Peter.
Pressure on me again. I don't know off the top of my head. I mean, the only thing that can kind of imply is that tie back to warmer climates might involve more kind of, seasonality to kind of the refreshing nature of the drink. And I think someone's written in the chat that actually it is their official national drink. So that probably helps quite a lot for giving them a bit more of a push. But no, it's not something I've ever really come across as such. I would be interested to know, though. Lots of people obviously ask us similar questions, but it's not something I've researched before.
It's quite weird because you go to Spain and you go to these guys have probably been, and you go to these gin bars and they take it properly seriously, don't they? And they've got the amazing ice, and you've got a gin. I've been to one in Barcelona, I think, and it had I don't know, however many gins on the list, and they really take it seriously. I mean, it's amazing because their wine consumption is hugely decreasing, yet their gin consumption seems to be, unquenchable.
Got a slightly loaded comment in from Murray there, saying that gin, the Brits stole it off the Italian monks and made it better.
Really possible.
Well, I reckon we'll draw the wheel of wine, and knowing that there's one bottle of the Sea Dog in the warehouse, I mean, $50 gets you quite close to it. So maybe that would be a nice way to spend it. I'm just going to share the screen and we will go from there. So well done to everybody who got 2 correct answers. Jane, was there any of them there?
Yeah, there were a couple actually. I mean, to name the superstars, we've got Michael, Carey, and Gary in there getting 2 correct answers. So well done.
Congratulations. Gives you a good chance to win. I'm going to give it a spin and good luck.
Ooh.
Tanya. Murray and Tanya, I know that you guys don't have your webcam on. Are you able to turn it on and give us a quick cheers?
It's a requirement for the prize, just saying, guys.
Okay. Okay, just turning it on now.
Beautiful.
Hang on. Here we go. Okay. Oh. Technical issues. Can you see us?
No, it's black.
Almost. It's black.
We can definitely hear you.
Oh, why is it black? Oh, I've got video. I've got unmute and video, but where's the camera?
We've got technical issues.
That's all right. If you guys just give us a quick cheers, and that's absolutely fine. No need to worry about it too much.
Cheers. And thanks. This is the first time I've ever won anything.
Well, you'll have to come to more tastings because obviously this is where the winners are.
With gin, it can't go wrong.
Good one to win.
Amazing. So if you, I know that everyone has recently picked up a couple of bottles for the tasting. If you've got friends or family that you think might, be interested in picking up a bottle, there are the two wines. We'll send out a text tomorrow and just shoot us a text back if you're keen. Also, there's a QR code if you want to give it a quick scan onto the site, and that brings you directly to the product there. I should say just before we crack on any more, I've personally found that so interesting and really quite enjoyable. So obviously, guys, we know it's super early in the morning for you. So, and you guys all have busy days. So thanks so much for giving us those insights. It's been really great.
I feel like I went on a distillery tour. So thank you so much for being in the distillery, Tarquin. That was really awesome.
Awesome. Show you around.
Thank you very much.
And yeah, fantastic Zoom host team, one of the best ones I've ever been on actually. So I really appreciated the questions, Ali. That was awesome. So yeah, cheers, guys. Have a great Thirsty Thursday. Enjoy the evening.
Thanks,
and,
Tarquin.
Yeah, we'll catch up soon.
Sounds great.
Amazing.
Thank you so much.
Great.
Cheers, guys. Take care.
Bye, guys.
Have a nice day.
Everybody.
Bye.
Thanks, guys. Really appreciate that.
So if you are interested in picking up any mixers with those, we've got a special deal going on 24 packs of the Strange Love Light Tonic and also the Fancy Lemonade. So just get in touch if you'd like to pick some of those up. Obviously, we'd love to see you again. We've got Domaine Chavy Chouet from Burgundy, White Burgundy, on the 25th. Which I know Ali's excited to be part of. I know is it Andrea for the tasting with Chavy Chouet? It's yourself?
No,
that's Alistair. Yeah.
Thank you very much. I'm definitely doing that one.
Yeah, I think you shotgunned that one, which is absolutely fair enough.
Domaine as well. So
yeah.
He's the man, and I'll be there. They're fantastic wines. If you haven't tried them, I really recommend doing the Chavy Chouet. He's a superstar of the future.
Brill. For those spirits tasters out there, I know Murray and Tanya were saying that you quite enjoying the whiskies. We've got Whiskey of the World on the 8th of April, and it's World Malbec Day on the 15th of April. So we're celebrating that with 3 lovely ones there. And obviously, we're now able to run face-to-face tastings. So if you guys are in Sydney and would like to come in and learn a little bit more about wine, we've got on the 6th, sulfur in wine. On the 4th of May, what is tannin? And then on the 1st of June, dessert wines and fortified. So those are all Tuesday tastings, Tuesday tutorials. But no, I think that's been a fantastic tasting. Obviously, we'll open the floor for questions, but thank you, everybody. Thank you, Ali, for giving us your insights there, and really enjoyed it this evening.
Yeah, that was brilliant. I enjoyed that too. Thanks, guys. It's really fun to do something different, isn't it? And to sort of quite understand gin and take it to another level. So no, I've really enjoyed this. They're gins that I've only ever tried this one, and I drink it relatively regularly. So I know the dry gin well, but I haven't tried. I'm always, weirdly enough, quite sort of put off by flavored gins. I find them I don't like sweet spirits particularly, but this is great to try this because it's not sweet, is it? You know, as you guys have all said, it doesn't, that sweetness isn't
purist, Ali.
Sweeter. It's a bit like a what?
You're a bit of a purist.
I'm a bit of a purist, Anthony. You know me, of course I am. But actually, I really enjoyed that, and I've made a note of I think it was Peter, his ideal cocktail for that. So I'm going to go out and buy the ingredients and give that a go. But no, it's been really cool. I've enjoyed that very much. Better than the cricket that's going on at the moment with England against India. Let's not go there.
Need to feed Virat Kohli a few gins so he loses the sight of the ball a little bit.
Sounds like a plan. No,
excellent. Brilliant. Well, we'll sign it off from there. If you've got a tasting booked with us in the future, looking forward to seeing you. If not, we'll hopefully something on the menu there took your interests, and we'll be seeing you soon. So thanks a lot.
Cheers, guys. Good to see you.
Thank you, Chris, for facilitating.